where I lay it down. Every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. I will make room, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to in my life, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Oh.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for service today. My name is Laura and I'm the worship lead out of our Pewaukee campus. We're so glad you're joining us today for service. Later we'll be taking communion. Communion is a time for us to reflect on Jesus' life and ultimately the sacrifice he made for us by dying on the cross. If you'd like to participate with us, just grab something to eat and drink so that you're ready for that. If this is your first time at River Glen, we're so happy to have you. We have live worship, a relevant message, and so many opportunities to celebrate, connect with others, and contribute to the mission of Jesus here. Plus, we have some special programming for your kids during service. And your students can enjoy a special night of programming at RG Youth on Sundays from 6 to 8 p.m. Really, there are great things happening here, and I'd love to invite you to be a part of it. If you're in the Waukesha or Pewaukee area, please stop by and say hi. You can check out our Next Steps hub in our lobbies at both campuses and meet staff, or find out more about how God's church is a place for you no matter where you're at in your faith journey. Now, we're in a series called Making of a Giant Killer. It focuses on the story of David and Goliath in the Old Testament, but more importantly, how we can learn from David's story of facing something that seemed impossible. David battled Goliath, a giant, and won with only a couple of stones and a sling. It's because he had God's favor on his side, and we're reminded through David's story that we also have God's favor as followers of Jesus. So, no matter what we're facing today, whether it's a breakup, divorce, loss of a job or a loved one, or maybe a scary new challenge, God is with you. And it isn't just you and God on this journey alone. Here at RG, we stress the importance of connecting with other believers for encouragement and accountability. We can find support and love in hard times from others. And what greater way to connect than life groups? Life groups meet throughout the week in homes and at church. They help us meet emotional and spiritual needs that we have a hard time fulfilling on our own. I encourage you to check out more on our life groups at riverglen.cc or by messaging us directly. All right, well, I have to get ready for service. I hope to meet you in person soon.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you, no matter where you are. I want to invite you to stand with us. We're going to start our morning singing and worshiping together. We invite you to sing along.
Come all ye weary, come all ye thirsty, come to the well that never runs dry. Drink of the water, come and thirst no more. Come all ye sinners, come find his mercy. God so loved the world.
Psalm 93. The Lord reigns. He is robed in majesty. The Lord is robed in majesty and armed with strength. Indeed, the world is established, firm and secure. Your throne was established long ago. You are from all eternity. The seas have lifted up, Lord. The seas have lifted up their voice. The seas have lifted up their pounding waves. Mightier than the thunder of the great waters, mightier than the breakers of the sea, the Lord on high is mighty. Your statutes, Lord, stand firm. Holiness adorns your house for endless days. Let's continue to sing.
How I long to be near heaven, where pain is gone and mercy fills the streets. To look upon the one who bled to save me and walk with him for all eternity. There will be a day when all will bow before him. There will be a day when death will be no more. Standing face to face with he who died and rose again. Holy, holy is the Lord.
Sing every prayer.
Every prayer we prayed in desperation, the songs of faith we sang through doubt and fear. But in the end, we'll see it all was worth it when he returns and wipes away our tears. There will be a day when all will bow before him. There will be a day when death will be no more. Standing face to face with he who died and rose again. Holy, holy is the Lord. And on that day, we join the resurrection and stand beside the heroes of the faith. With one voice, 1,000 generations sing, worthy is the Lamb who was slain. On that day, we join the resurrection and stand beside the heroes of the faith. With one voice, 1,000 generations sing,
singing with us this morning, you can grab a seat.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much. We're so glad that you are with us this weekend. In case we haven't met, my name's John, and I'm one of the pastors here. If you are new today and you're checking out River Glen for the first time, before you leave, make sure you stop out at the Next Steps Hub in the lobby. We've got a gift for you. We'd love to say hi. We would love to meet you. And I love this time of year because the weather's getting warmer, and that means if the weather's getting warmer, that means school is getting out very soon. And parents and students, you're all wondering what you're going to do this summer. We have 3 excellent camps coming up this summer for every age group in our student ministry. The first one is the sports camp, the UW sports camps. It's for 4-year-olds and those entering 5th grade. There's an opportunity to participate in soccer, basketball, cheer team. But even more importantly than that, the leaders of this group are going to be teaching about Jesus and tying it into sports and how we can all grow in our faith together. And then later this summer, we're going to have an opportunity for the middle school students and the high school students to get away, get out of town, and they're going to go to these separate camps. It's called CIY, Christ in Youth, and they're going to learn to explore their own personal faith. They're going to learn what it means to be a follower of Jesus. And I want to encourage you, when I was 15 years old, I went to one of these camps, and that's where I became a follower of Jesus. So parents, I'm telling you, it can change your child's life. And I was up here a few weeks ago, and Garrett told me, he said, just go up there and tell them it's going to be lit. This morning he said, just go up there and tell them not only is it going to be lit, it won't be sus. And if you're like me, we don't know what that means. But I promise you, your children do. So sign them up. If you got questions, meet Garrett out in the lobby. He'll answer all of those questions. You know, each week we spend time talking about generosity because it's your generosity, it's our generosity collectively that allows us to make these offerings, to have these kinds of camps, to offer scholarships to our community partners, to those students who might not otherwise be able to come. And so I just want to encourage you and thank you so much in the generosity, this time of offering. However you choose to give, there's several ways on the screens behind me, but you're on board with us. You're on board with making more and better followers of Jesus, and we appreciate that more than you know, because without you, we would be an empty building. So thank you for that. Today, we're in week 3 of our series on David, and Garrett is going to take a look at the special bond that Jonathan and David had. And so right now the band's going to come back up. They're going to sing another song. It's called Friendship. And just sit back, think about these words, and that's going to kind of set the stage for the relationship that Garrett's going to talk about. Thank you so much for being with us.
Say what's wrong, my longtime friend. Is there something about you? Tell me what the problem is, and I'll see what I can do. There are times we disagree. We agree more than we don't. We won't always see eye to eye, but we will more than we won't. We got friendship, the kind that lasts a lifetime. Through all the hardship, you know you're a friend of mine. Yeah, we got friendship, the kind that lasts a lifetime. Through all the hardship, you know you're a friend of mine. If you're on the street, I'll take your hand. If you're hungry, I'll give you food. If it's money you need, oh, I got something to say. If you're sick, I'll visit you. I've been where you are right now, and you saw me through. No, I lean on you, you can lean on me, and I'm never gonna let you fall. We got friendship, the kind that lasts a lifetime. kind that lasts a lifetime. Through all hardship, you know you're a friend of mine. Talk to me, oh pal of mine, if you feel you can't go home. Don't you sweat, it ain't over yet. This bond we share is strong. Now your welfare is my concern. You weigh less than you think. I'll carry you through the circumstance. If you're safe, I'll let you sing. We got friendship, the kind that lasts a lifetime. Through all hardship, you know you're a friend of mine. Yeah, we got friendship, the kind that lasts a lifetime. Through all hardship, you know you're a friend of mine. Yeah, we got friendship, the kind that lasts a lifetime. Through all the hardship, you know you're a friend of mine. Through all the hardship, you know you're a friend of mine.
Well, hey, good to be with you this weekend. Want to just shout out our Pewaukee, our online campus, and those of you here at our Waukesha campus. It's good to be one church in many locations. So we just want to say thank you for joining us this weekend. Want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day weekend. We're so grateful, and we want to honor and just show respect to the men and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we could live the lives that we have today. Their example is our inheritance. And so can we just thank those men and women for a moment today? Thank you. Thank you. This weekend kind of serves as the kickoff or the launching pad into summer here at RG, and maybe even for you. Maybe you've got some fun plans for the weekend. River Glen, summer is a fun time. We got food happening every weekend. Saturday nights in Waukesha and Sundays at Pewaukee. There's going to be food. So every week, bring a friend, have some fun, get some food across our campuses, grilling out this weekend. But such a fun time around here at summer. Our staff kind of takes casual Fridays every day. We start doing that around the offices. There's a lot of flip-flops. You see a lot of feet. Everybody tries to eat lunch. We're trying to eat lunch outside and get outdoors. And like John mentioned, RG Youth, so many fun things, some camps coming up that we would love for you to be a part of. And if you're a student, please come chat with us. Man, we want to take you to camp with us. It's going to be such a fun time. But this week, we are continuing in our series on the life of David, the making of a giant killer, the making of a giant killer. I like to consider myself a giant killer. By giants, I mean spiders that my wife finds, and by killer, I mean beating it with a flip-flop. But David was a real giant killer. David was a big deal, right? And week one, Charity kind of kicked us off with talking about David's upbringing and the setting, kind of where he was born and who he was, and encouraged us to embrace a life of humility and even obscurity, that God notices and sees and takes pride in those who maybe live and lead an insignificant, what would seem like an insignificant life. And then last week, Ben encouraged us in the message of David and Goliath to be bold and courageous and face our giants just like David. And now, the timeline right now where we're at in David's life, he has defeated Goliath and he is only getting more popular. He's kind of reached celebrity status. He is gaining fame. He has all of the Spotify streams from his harp playing. He has got all of the followers and the fans. He's got the blue check mark on Twitter. And he's got all the kids. They're rushing to Walmart, buying their slingshots and their David costumes. Everybody wants to be David. This guy is a big deal. And Saul is the current king, and he's kind of jealous that David is popular and that David's going to be the new king. And so while David is waiting, right, he's got to honor God and he's got to honor Saul and wait for Saul's kingdom to end. And then David is the new and anointed king, chosen by God, and he's got to wait. He's kind of in this weird waiting period, waiting to become king. And it's during this waiting time that he is serving King Saul, living in the palace, that he makes a friend. He makes a bond with another guy named Jonathan. We're going to kind of camp out in their story, look at a couple key moments between the friendship of David and Jonathan. And the big idea for us this weekend is that we need people. That you and I were not intended to do life alone. That we need friends. We need a friend. Because the truth is, we're kind of lonely. A lot of us are doing life alone. In 2015, the University of California, Berkeley spent over $100 million on searching for life outside of Earth. They sent these little nanocrafts scattered throughout space that would signal any form of life that they could find, and it would signal it back. And so they scattered these out, looking for tracking any signal of life outside of Earth, any other life form. And Stephen Hawking, who was helping lead the charge on this search, said this: "It is important to know if we are alone in the dark." And the truth for many of us is that we're asking that same question. We're wondering the same thing. And we're not talking about aliens or other planets. Man, we're just talking about other people. We want to know, are we alone in the dark? Am I alone in the dark? So wherever you are, maybe there may be some of us here this weekend who are desperate for friends and longing for community. There may be others who, maybe we feel like we've got some people and we've got a good core and we've got some friends, but it never goes deeper than, how's the weather, man? Pretty good. I like this, or Brewers. Oh, that was, yeah. Like, that's it. And that is as deep as it goes. We all are in need of deep, true, and real meaningful community. Robert Putnam, in his book Bowling Alone, shared this. He said, playing cards with friends was down 25% from 1950. He said having a night out together, just going out with your friends, was down 33%. He also noted that the average American has maybe 2 friends, maybe 2 close friends, which is down from 6. And then he notes that a quarter of Americans have no close or trusted friend. And so it begs the question, how do we even define a friend? Like, what qualifies a friend? We have friends on Facebook, and we've got followers, and we've got these all kinds of connections. We are the most socially connected age of all time. We're only getting more and more connected through all of these digital opportunities and mobile options, right? However, loneliness, depression, and anxiety are all rising at alarming rates. Each generation that is coming up, statistics are saying, are more and more lonely, even though they're more and more connected. So much so that the UK recently hired a minister of loneliness. They hired a minister of loneliness, which points out that we can be so connected to one another, but not actually be in community with each other. In her book, Alone Together, Sherry Turkle writes this: "We are lonely, but we're fearful of intimacy. Digital connection may offer the illusion of companionship without the demands of friendship. Our networked life allows us to hide from each other even as we are tethered to each other. We'd rather text than talk. When technology engineers intimacy, relationships can be reduced to mere connections, and then easy connection becomes redefined as intimacy. With constant connection comes new anxieties of disconnection." Here's what she's saying: there are benefits to social media and digital connection, keeping all of us connected with each other, but you could argue at the same time it is also disconnecting us. It is also making us more and more disconnected. We're becoming satisfied with superficial and social media level relationships. I love that she notes that we'd rather text than talk. That is so true. My wife and I are constantly debating over who has to perform the daunting and stress-inducing task of calling our daughter's doctor to make an appointment. Anybody else that? Like, no, I called last time. Come on, can you please just call her doctor and make the appointment, right? Like, I don't want to talk on the phone. I don't want to talk to anybody. Can we just text them and schedule it that way? It's no secret that we are disconnected. And we don't want you to live alone in the dark, because we believe that we were all meant for community, that we were made for one another. King David writes this in Psalm 133. He says, "How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity." So we're going to dive in to his story and this relationship and this friendship that he has with Jonathan. To do that, we're going to kick off in 1 Samuel 18, kind of the first moment where these two young men are connected. It says this, picking up in 1 Samuel 18. "After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family. And Jonathan made a covenant with David, because he loved him as himself. Jonathan took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic and even his sword, his bow, and his belt." What's happening here? What's going on? Jonathan is not just some other kid, some other young boy who's living in the palace. Jonathan is Saul's son. So by all intents and purposes, Jonathan is next in line for the throne. Jonathan is the heir apparent. He is the prince, right? The same way King Charles was just crowned, right? Jonathan is next. He is next up. However, God has said, hey, I'm no longer going to continue in Saul's family, and we're going to start over with David. So it's skipping Jonathan is immediately losing out on what is his birthright, the throne. And Jonathan chooses not to be bitter or angry, but instead he chooses to honor God and honor David. And he forms this relationship with him. And he makes this covenant, this bond, this pact with him. I remember when I was in 5th grade, my best friend at the time, his name was Malcolm Moses. We had been best friends since kindergarten. And we would do everything together. He would come vacation with my family. His family would take me to all these fun theme parks. And we even formed a band, like a wannabe Green Day band, even though neither of us could sing or play instruments. But we formed a band nonetheless, and it was awesome. And Malcolm and I were in a band, and we had this pact, and we were like brothers. But we found out that as we were leaving 5th grade, we were going to be going to different schools in middle school. And this was detrimental to us 11-year-old boys. And so we decided we got to make a pact, man. We got to form a brotherhood, a covenant, if you will. And so we went to Walmart and we custom made these dog tag necklaces that you could wear, and we put each other's names on them. And we went our separate ways into middle school. And I went, wearing my dog tag that said Malcolm on it. And now, hindsight, I don't know if I would ever wear jewelry with someone else's name on it other than maybe my wife or daughter. But for 11-year-old boys who were experiencing this big moment, who were like too afraid to do a blood oath like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, this was the closest thing. So we settled for the dog tags. We were like, let's go the dog tag route. That's cool, right? Maybe? No. So we separated, but we had this covenant. We had this bond. We had this pact that we made with each other. See, what Jonathan is doing here is far greater. He's removing his robe. What's he doing? He's getting rid of his princely attire, all of his royal accessories, the things that would deem him the prince. And he's saying, no, David, this is you. I want to honor and respect God. I want to honor and respect you as the next king, and this bond is formed. I love the way the ESV translation puts it. It says, their souls were knit together. They're brothers. And time goes on, and they become closer, and Saul's jealousy grows for David. He sees the fame and the popularity that David, the attention that David is getting, and Saul is getting more and more jealous. And David thinks, I think Saul wants to kill me. I think he's trying to kill me and end my life. And Jonathan is like, no, I don't know. And so the boys get together and they devise a plan to test Saul's intentions, to see, does he want to kill David? What's going on here? And sure enough, Saul snaps, and Jonathan steps up and defends his friend David. And this is what takes place, and jumping a little bit forward in 1 Samuel chapter 20. It says, Saul's anger flared up at Jonathan, and he said to him, you son of a perverse and rebellious woman. Don't say that, not good. Don't I know that you have sided with the son of Jesse to your own shame? Son of Jesse, that's David. And to the shame of the mother who bore you. As long as the son of Jesse lives on this earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. Now send someone to bring him to me, for he must die. Why should he be put to death? What has he done? Jonathan asked his father. But Saul hurled his spear at him, at his own son, to kill him. Then Jonathan knew that his father intended to kill David. Jonathan is in this kind of awkward moment here. Do I side with my father, the current king, or do I defend my best friend, this person that I've made a pact and a covenant with? And he steps up and he stands up for David, potentially severing whatever is left of the relationship between him and his father. Jonathan, after this moment, he's going to run to David and he's going to warn him. And he's like, yeah, he wants to kill you. You got to get out of here. And he sends David on the run, out into hiding. And they have this bond. They kind of hug each other and send each other off. And he's like, go for it, bro. I got you. I got your back. And he warns him and he sends him out. See, this relationship is so much more than just boys who played around in the palace fields with their fake swords, having fun. They weren't just friends, they were brothers. And eventually, Jonathan is going to die in battle. And David is going to mourn the loss of his best friend. But years later, David finds out that Jonathan had a son. His son's name is Mephibosheth. And he is lame from birth. He's unable to walk and most likely unable to even work. And David invites Mephibosheth into the palace. And this is what takes place in 1 Samuel chapter 9. It says, when Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, came to David, he bowed down to pay him honor. David said, Mephibosheth, at your service, he replied. Don't be afraid, David said to him, for I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father, Jonathan. I will restore to you all of the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table. Mephibosheth bowed down and said, what is your servant that you should notice a dead dog like me. Notice how Mephibosheth is talking about himself. He doesn't feel worthy to be in the palace, let alone sit at the king's table. He feels like a dog that you should sit under the table and get the scraps and the leftovers, the things that people don't want, or the things that fall during the meals. The name Mephibosheth actually means from the mouth of shame. And that's what he's carrying. He's carrying all of this shame for who he is and what he has going on. And he believes he does not belong there. Yet King David shows no fear, no embarrassment, no hesitation to show love to Mephibosheth, to pay back for Jonathan all the things that Jonathan had done to him, the kindness that Jonathan showed him. David says, I'm going to show it back to you, to your family, to your son. This outsider, you see, to David, this was no outsider. He maybe even viewed him and treated him like a son. I imagine that they're sitting around the dinner table sometimes and he's sitting right next to him and they're having a good time and this relationship is building between David and his best friend's son. And I like to imagine that sometimes he corrects him. And he says, hey, you don't have to call me King David anymore, man. It's just Uncle Dave. Like, come on, man, I'm your dad's best friend. It's Uncle Dave. Like, we've got this relationship. I want to look out for you because of my bond that I had with Jonathan. You see, in Jonathan and David, we see true friendship. We see the importance of entrusting our lives to other people. The importance of having real and raw and vulnerable relationships and connection. Something that goes far beyond the weather and the sports. And that maybe, just maybe, we don't have to be alone in the dark. That we're intended for something greater. I want to invite you to check out this video. We've got some amazing groups and communities that meet here at River Glen, and some incredible bonds have been formed, and some communities have been formed from people who are able to find and grow and flourish in community here at River Glen. And so I want you guys to, for a moment, just take a look at this video.
Hi, I'm Heather, and I attend the Waukesha campus.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and I attend the Waukesha campus also. I was attending Alpha with my husband, and she was in the Child Watch. And then one time I was at a splash pad in Heartland, and she came up to me, she's like, oh, hey, I know you from church.
We were just talking about how there was really a need for a mom's group, and so we kind of came together and we're like, well, let's see what we can make happen. I just texted Mary and I said, hey, I would really like to try to get this going again, and come to find out Kelly was going to be willing to help me, and then there was another mom as well. And I think it's just such a simple process. I think the biggest thing is just taking the first step to take the initiative and take a leap of faith to step out there and say, hey, this is something that I think could be useful, and come to find out, I'm sure that there's other people in the church who are looking for a way to connect.
It's so important to be connected in a group. I feel like this group especially, I think there's just a lot to be said or to know that you're not in it alone.
You know, to meet with other moms and other adults is just really beneficial for your well-being. And so to then throw in the spiritual aspect of that, to then feed your spiritual soul, and we're not meant to do this alone. And so if you're just coming to church and just walking in the door and walking out, then you're really missing out on a big part of the faith, and even what Jesus calls us to do is to be in community.
I think it's really easy to get just caught up in life and lack of time and things like that. And so to have even our group message every morning, it's just oh yeah, I need to, have this time today. I think it's really important just for our kids to see us consistently come here and be involved, and then they start to ask questions and things like that. And I think answering questions and leading and, being a part of something helps you grow and other people grow.
Whatever journey you're on in your faith, whether you're a new Christian still trying to figure it out, or you've been a Christian for 40 years, I think that all of us can benefit from being with other Christians and learning and growing, and yeah, why not? Why not do it and see what God can do, I think.
I love that. Can we give it up for them and the incredible group that Mom Life is, and a unique season of people navigating this fun and exciting stage. We're just so grateful for the community that people have been able to find here. And that's my wife and I's story as well. We moved away from our family and friends and life that we knew, and we found community. And it took a while, but God brought people into our lives. This is a picture of my life group and the community that we have. And there's so many more people in our lives that we have been able to be in community with, that have shaped us and have celebrated us and comforted us and made space for us to be real and vulnerable and share difficulties that are going on. And there's so many more friends who've worked on my car, or have just come to our house when it's a complete mess and it's kind of embarrassing, or they make sure to tease and humble me in the group chat and things like that, things that all good friends should do. But I believe that deep community, that connection, is what God wants and envisions for all of us. So here's the question that we want to ask. How can we grow as people defined by unity and friendship and community? How can we grow as people that are thriving and living in the community that God intended for all of us? The first thing that I think we can do is just to be a friend. Just be a friend. Start being a friend to other people. I believe that it does. It starts with you. See, Jonathan could have kept the awkward tension alive between him and David and be like, yeah, this dude's kind of taking my thing. Like, that should be my throne. But instead, he throws that idea out the window and chooses to love and form a bond with someone that he didn't have to, and he chooses to be a friend. In the awkward times, in the moments where he felt like that person didn't even deserve it. Could that be us? See, I think being a friend oftentimes looks like going out of our comfort zone, and sometimes even sacrificing something of our own. Be the friend that you want. Be the friend that maybe you're waiting for, or that you're looking for, because here's what can happen. We can get stuck in the season of waiting, and we can become more lonely and maybe even become bitter. And at some point, just completely uninterested in relationships and other people. And so we want to be the friend. I saw something recently that said, we need less here I am people, and we need more there you are people. We need more people who when they walk in the room are not, hey, here I am, notice me, and instead are like, hey, there you are. Dude, I'm so excited to see you. There you are. And are immediately just showing kindness and love and excitement towards other people. We want to be kind and encouraging and consistent people and friends. So maybe it starts with you. Maybe it starts with you being a friend to those around you. The second thing we want to do is take a step. Wherever you are at on the spectrum of community, whether you're longing for it, whether you feel like you have some, we want to invite you to take a step. Jonathan took a huge step in defending David, and he deepened that relationship and that bond that they had with each other from that moment. From that step, from that deepening that he chose to do. So there's a couple ways you can do this. The first is by maybe just joining a community. We've got a ton of groups kicking off this summer, and this is the best time to join a group, because you just jump in for a few weeks, you test it out, you get to see what being in a group is all about, and you get to try new things. And if you're at all interested in that, or you're just curious about it, we want to invite you to go out to the Next Steps Hub after service, or online. You can check out our website or talk to your host, and we want to get you connected this summer. There's so many different groups. I want to read a few of them to you. There's a college and young adult group. There's a kayaking group. There's a dog training group. There you go, dog training. There's pickleball group. There's a group diving into each week's message. Later in the week, they're just going to talk about what was the message and how can we grow in this and that area. I got my friend Sam. He's doing a group about what is the Bible? How did the Bible come to be? There's so many groups. I promise you, there is a group for you. So check it out. Next week, there's going to be tables everywhere. You could sign up, talk to some leaders, and learn about these groups. Join a group. The next step that maybe we could take is to deepen the community that we're already in, to go further in our relationships, to move beyond surface level relationships. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to go to Mexico with my best friends from high school. We were able to go to Mexico together, and one of the days we're walking up and down the port, and we're looking for a fishing gear rental place. We're just looking for a place we could rent some gear and go fishing at the beach and just hang out for the afternoon. And instead, we ended up talking with some locals, and then another group of locals came out, and they're kind of arguing over us, trying to get us the better deal. And they offered, hey, instead of renting gear, we'll just take you out on our boat. And so we're in the middle of Mexico, and we're like, this is kind of sketchy, but let's do it. Yeah, what the heck? Let's do it. That sounds awesome. So we paid these guys. We hopped on their boat, and they took us out in the middle of the ocean in Mexico, and we went deep sea fishing with these random guys for 3 hours. And then we caught the biggest fish, the best fish that we'd ever caught before. And we get back, and we dock the boat, and we're hanging out at the harbor, and we're having a good time. And the guy starts pulling out the fish that we caught, and immediately just starts cutting it up, throws in some onions, throws in some hot sauce, gives us some chips, and we had like fresh yellowtail ceviche right there at the harbor. It was incredible. Now, we could have rented the gear, hung out at the beach, each caught 30 little guys, had a good time. But the further we went out, the risk that we took, the deeper we went, the greater the catch. And so could it be that that's the same for some of our relationships? That it's time that we maybe take a risk? That it's time that we start going a little deeper. Now, I don't mean the next time you're at dinner with your friends to just drop your deepest, darkest sin right there at the table, okay? Maybe wait, ease into it, take it slowly, but let's take steps in trust and reliance and vulnerability. Can we be a people who are not satisfied with superficial friendships and social media relationships? Yes, it's deeper water. Yes, it's uncharted territory. Yes, you're further from shore. But I promise you, the risk is so worth it. I love this quote from author Joseph Hellerman. He says this: spiritual formation occurs in the context of community. People who remain connected in the local church almost invariably grow in their understanding, and they mature in their ability to relate to God and to their fellow beings. This is especially true for those courageous Christians who stick it out through the often messy process of interpersonal discord and conflict resolution. Long-term interpersonal relationships are the crucible of genuine progress in the Christian life. People who stay also grow. People who leave do not grow. We grow in community because we were made for community. Here's the third thing we can do. We can be a friend, we can take a step. We also just need to remember Jesus' example. That before King David, we got the greatest example, right? If we go all the way back to Genesis 1, God says this, he says, let us make man in our image. That's plural. He's speaking in the plural. He's referring to God the Father, Christ the Son, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, all present at creation, all present at the point of creation, meaning that we were not only designed for community, but we were designed by and from community, that it's woven within our beings to be connected with other people. The first thing to go wrong in the Bible, the next chapter over, is not Adam and Eve taking the fruit. That's not the first thing to go wrong. The first thing to go wrong, God says in Genesis 2:18, it is not good for the man to be alone, so I will make him a helper. My wife was out of town a couple weekends ago, and all I did was eat bad food and stayed up way too late. And I can attest, it is not good for man to be alone, right? We need, ladies, we need you, all right? But we need people. And God knew that. God saw that we need to be in community, deep relationships. And we have Jesus as an example. And not just by his nature, but in his actions. See, he is how we be a friend. And he has the qualities that we need to be looking for in a friend. But he is also the ultimate friend to all of us. He's the best friend that we could ever have. John 15:15, Jesus says this. He says, I no longer call you servants because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I've called you friends. See, Jesus is the friend who never leaves us nor forsakes us, who is always fighting for us, who is always with us. He's the friend that's never going to give you up. He's never going to let you down. He's never going to run around or desert you. They should write a song about that. That should be a song. Here's the thing. We have a friend in Jesus. That's all I'm saying. We got a friend in Jesus. And as we close our time together, we're going to go into a time of communion and one final song. But I can't help but think of Jesus as we reflect on that story of David and Jonathan's son, Mephibosheth, inviting him to the table. Because friends, isn't that what Jesus did for us? That Jesus, like David did to Mephibosheth, Jesus invited each and every one of us to the table. That he deemed worthy the unworthy. That he showed love to what other people classify as the unlovable. That he welcomed the people, you and me, who would traditionally be unwelcomed and unaccepted. He made a seat for us. Oh, what a good friend we have in Jesus. I love these lyrics from Need to Breathe. They say, "'Cause I am yours, and you'll always be mine. It seems like madness that I'm invited to the table by your side." Friends, that is the good news of the message of Jesus, is that there's a table for you. And you walk in, he says, pull up your seat. I got a seat. It's been waiting for you. The plate's ready. It's got the gold thing with your name already on it. He says, we've been waiting for you. Come on in. I got a seat for you. My friend, you're here. And that's what we remember at communion. That Jesus not only made a seat, but he made a way for you and for me. John 15:13 says, there's no greater love than to lay down one's life for their friends. And when we join in together to take communion, we declare that truth. Our communion is open to anyone who's a follower of Jesus. And so in a moment, after I pray, there's going to be some music and some time for you to sit and reflect. During that time, we want to invite you to take that bread, which represents Christ's body, and take that juice, which represents Christ's blood, which represents this great sacrifice, and remember this great act of love. So whether you're in community and you're looking to go deeper, whether you're feeling lonely and you're desperately longing for people, let's be a friend. Let's take a step. And let's remember that in Jesus, we have the ultimate friend. And that because of him, there is a seat for you. And the good news in this big world is that you are not alone in the dark. You're not alone. Let me pray for you. Heavenly Father, God, we're blown away by the friendship and the relationship that you desire to have with each and every one of us. So God, I pray for anyone here this weekend, whether sitting in this room or Pewaukee or joining us online. God, I pray that right now, if they're feeling lonely, God, I pray that right now they'd feel your arms just wrap around them, that they would know that you are near, you are not far, that you are close and you are caring and you are loving and you sit with us, that in you and with you, God, we don't have to be alone. But God, would you stir in us the courage to maybe take that step, start looking for community, to get connected in a group, to maybe start opening up to the people around us, to go deeper in our relationships. Because God, as we do, we know that we will only grow deeper and closer to you. So God, we thank you for the gift of friendship. We thank you for the gift of your Son. We thank you for your love. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
their trouble anywhere. We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful who will all our sorrow share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. I want to invite you to stand as we close our service today. We're going to declare what a friend we have in Jesus. That's all it is. What a friend we have in Jesus. Let's sing this together. What a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in Jesus. Oh, sing that again. What a friend we have in Jesus. Oh, what a friend we have in Jesus. Oh, what a friend we have in Jesus. Oh, what a friend, what a friend. What a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in Jesus. Oh, one more time. What a friend. What a friend we have in Jesus. 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 Oh, one more time. What a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in Jesus. We want to thank you for being here with us this morning and engaging with us in worship, no matter where you are coming from. We hope that you have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. See you next time.
Thanks so much for spending time together with us. I hope that you feel encouraged and able to apply today's teaching into your life immediately. And you can't wait to join us again for service next weekend, either online or in person at our Waukesha or Pewaukee campus locations. If you haven't done so already, click the Connect button and fill out a welcome card or text CONNECT to 262-500-4004. Be sure to let us know how we can pray for you and how we can help you take your next step. Every Thursday, you'll receive my What's Happening RG newsletter filled with encouragement and updates about River Glen. I invite you to be on mission with River Glen, to celebrate each week in our service and in our daily lives, to connect with others in groups, and to contribute by serving others, living generously, and inviting others to join us. This is how we can make more and better followers of Jesus. Let's live and love generously. We hope to see you soon.